So, welcome one and all to the third iteration of, funnily enough, of Driver Marathon Part 3. This is the Drive Marathon. Yeah, we are on the third iteration of this event. Last time we ran this was in 2021. A lot of these runs may seem familiar, including the one that I will be showing off to kick this marathon off. We're going to get into the first one. Funnily enough, if I just chuck us over to that. There we go. There we go. Okay, so first and foremost, yeah, here we are. We've got Driver 1, and this is going to be the Japanese release that we're going to be running today. We're going to be kicking the event off, so I'm just going to quickly speed up the emulator. There we go. So yeah, we're going to kick this thing off relatively well. I have no idea why my mic has decided to play funny buggers, so apologies for that. Let's make sure it's definitely okay. Might have to turn it up or adjust the microphone appropriately. So hopefully this comes through okay, and you guys can hear me just fine. Hopefully the game's not too loud. I might have to improve the... Might be a bit too loud. I don't know. Is that any better? Should be better. Okay, so first things first, we have the Driver Marathon. Like I said, Part 3. This is the first run of the event. We've got Driver to kick it off. Obviously, an oldie but a goodie. And then coming up, we have Driver 2, funnily enough, that follows suit. Driver San Francisco, Driver Parallel Lines, and a few others as well. So I'm going to make sure that this is all good in terms of that. Let's make sure everything's all good. Should be fine. Okay, so without further ado, let's get this party started. So on my mark, here we go. Here's the first run of the event. In 3, 2, 1, go. So, Driver, the first one. What is it about? Well, it is about John Tanner. Specifically, he's a undercover cop who, yeah, undercover cop, nice guy, would highly recommend. 10 out of 10. Yeah, he's got to prove himself. So as you can see, we've got the inaugural training mission here, which is called The Interview. Now, if I so desired, I could do whatever the hell I like here, because here's a fun fact. So this is the Japanese release. Now I'm going to show you what route we'd normally take, because this is the normal way of doing it. The Japanese release is the... what is it? The Japanese release actually offers a bit of a cheat guide. So the Japanese release allows you to skip the first mission, the interview, by simply wrecking the car. Now, obviously, I'm wanting to show this off for the sake of it. You know, I want to make sure that you guys get the full picture and everything like that. So, yeah, not too bad. So, all good. In terms of everything else, though, I think we should be completely fine. But this is the bank job. This is the next mission. So for those that don't know, a few things to just kind of point out about Driver. So it released back in 1999. Obviously, it was the first game in the Driver series to kick things off. It did get a PC release and a Game Boy Color release. The Game Boy Color release released in 2001, I believe. With the PC version coming out around the same time as the PS1 version back in 1999. Now, I'm going to be running on the Japanese release for one or two reasons. Firstly, the fact that you can skip the interview is one of the main things. Obviously, I've not skipped that because I want to show how you can do it fast when you do it normally, unless you play the Japanese release. The second thing, this is most crucial, is you get a lot more time for missions in the Japanese release, which makes some of the harder missions a lot easier. So that's the reason why. Another thing to point out straight from the get-go is we will be doing skips where we'll be waiting for certain bits and pieces. So we'll be waiting for this time to hit 15 seconds. We'll also be driving the whole run in cockpit view so that we can load the least amount. So this game had a problem with its frame rate. Now this is being played on emulation, but even on emulator it can sometimes lag. If you play it on a console, it's a bit worse. The other thing is the traffic is completely random, as is police spawns, and that is the main thing that we're going to be keeping an eye on. Yeah, nothing too out of the ordinary here, nice and easy. So the first few missions in Miami aren't too difficult, and they're relatively straightforward for a casual player. We also have the funny process of having spots like this, which are essentially no kill zones. And no damage zones, so you can sit there on this line looking to the right and you won't get hit. You have to have your car like lined up specifically on like certain lines and things like that, but yeah, pretty straightforward. Obviously ramps and things like that can tip you off if you're not careful. Now I'm probably going to get a cop at the end here, that's fine. Am I going to be lucky enough to miss him? I think I am. Holy cow. Just my luck. My lucky day. So, one of the main things above all else is that we're going to be looking to the side and make sure we can improve the frame rate as best as possible. The way that the game's structured. So you'll notice that we always go back to this room here, and what we do is we have these. We have the answering machine. So the answering machine is how you select missions in this game. And what essentially that allows you to do is it allows you to do the fastest missions. So some of these missions are difficult, but some are fairly easy. So for example, we are going to do Tico's Ride, which is going to be followed up by the cleanup. The cleanup being these two missions put together are the fastest. You do have other missions that you can choose from. But unfortunately that makes the game a lot slower, unfortunately. So we also have a mission called Tanner Meets Rufus, which some missions are basically mandatory. You need to do them to carry the story on. Doesn't matter which path you take, you'll end up doing. So for example, we do Tico's Ride and the cleanup in the main route. However, you are able to do other missions, but you'll actually get put at the you'll get put with the mandatory missions, so you'll always end up doing Tanner Meets Rufus and Bust Out Jean Paul. Like them missions can't be skipped at all. So what I mean by no kill zones is stuff like this. So if I line you can see my headlights have got lined up there with the yellow lines there. So if I line them up, then I can just look to the side like that. That allows me to just sit on this line and not get hit, not have to worry about being hit, which is really cool. But yeah, it's nice and easy, relatively straightforward, nothing too much. Now I will just say as well, for record's sake and things like that, we have split up emulator and console to make it a bit more fair on the leaderboards for this game. So if you do happen to play it on emulator, you're not going to be getting the record like overall versus like someone who's played on console who obviously have like slower load times and things like that. We have tried to keep emulator as close as possible to the console, but obviously we still split the leaderboards just to make it fair for everybody. But in terms of the story, there's not really too much to say in terms of the story. So yeah, so in terms of the story, there's not really too much to say. So you get the you pass the interview. That allows you to start working for this little small gang. They have a bank job. They want you to be the getaway driver, to which you are. And then you have Tico's Ride. So you've got to pick a guy called Tico, as you see. May have heard that he shot someone, which is true because he did. And now the cleanup, unsurprisingly, this is following that. So the cleanup is essentially you've now got to go and pick up. You've got to go and clean the mess. You've dropped Tico off. Tico's killed the guy. They're like, right, okay, we need to get this body moved. So the cleanup is essentially all the, I don't know what, because you never actually see the violence, you just hear gunshots. Fun fact, in the PS1 version, the gun that is used has a silencer, but if you play the PC version, the sound effects of the gun being fired are without a silencer completely. So it's like straight up deafening sound effects. The other thing I should mention as well, so the PS1 version has the 3 regions, the PAL, North American and Japanese release. The PAL version of the game is by far the hardest. The North American version is the fastest, and the Japanese version is the easiest in terms of time limits, which is why I'm playing the Japanese release. The Japanese release also runs at 30 FPS, but due to, for some reason, I think maybe load times in some places, it is actually slower compared to North American, which is really weird. So there you go. So this is a 2-part mission. You get missions like this where they're 2-parters. So that's the first part where we've got to clean that up. The next one is we now get to drive a unique car. This is one of several cars in the run. They're very unique. So you have, in the PS1 version, you have a starter car. And the thing is, in the PS1 release, you can only have one car in Take a Ride and everything else. For some reason, in the PC version, you're able to pick in some missions what car you want to use for that mission. Whereas PS1 never got that option. You have to use like Game Shark cheats, I think it is, to get those cars and things like that. Also, this is pretty lucky so far. I'm surprised I've not had any cops yet. I should get one in a sec. There it is. So he should have a friend in a minute that will also spawn. For some reason, there's always 2 cops. There's one that will just spawn out of nowhere in a minute. He might show up, he might not. Doesn't look like he's showing up. So ideally, I want to try and get away from this guy, if I can. Or lose his peripheral vision. There we go. Didn't quite work. There we go. Nice. Good stuff. Now, luckily, you may notice something as well. So I have a certain amount of damage. You have a damage bar, and if that fills up during a multi-part mission, you're stuffed. So you ideally want to make sure you drive as best and as clean as possible without hitting anything. It takes time, but it's there. So this next mission is called Tanner Meets Rufus, and that's a point A to point B. A lot of missions you get from this point to this point. Some involve taking down cars and things like that as well. You will have a few chase missions, which you'll see. The chase missions are by far the biggest RNG and stuff like that. I will just quickly mention a slight tweak to the Japanese release, other than the time limits being a lot more lenient. So whenever a name is shown on screen, it is shown in all capitals, whereas in the European and North American versions, the name is just a capital letter for the start, obviously, with a name, like you would, and the rest of the letters are all lowercase. It's only a small thing, but it's something I picked up on. The one other thing as well is 1 or 2 missions have slightly different wording compared to how they would normally in the PAL and NTSC versions. For example, in The Informant, which is the last mission in Miami, we have to catch a girl called Jessie. And in the PAL and NTSC releases, it literally just says catch Jessie. That's the objective. In the Japanese release, you get told chase the train, catch Jessie. So there's slightly different wording, which is very interesting, I think. We also do get to drive a few other cars in this run as well. So you, as I was saying before regarding the cars, so the PS1 version only allows you to drive the standard car for each map whenever you do Take a Ride, which is another part of this game that you can do, which is just like casually learning the maps and things like that. In certain missions, you're able to drive police cars, civilian cars, and things like that. And the fastest car in the game, which is in Superfly Drive, but we'll get to that. The other thing is as well is the cops can be a bit stupid so just be aware of that. The other thing I was wanting to mention before about the damage was by having barely any damage and having loads of health left on my car, when we get to the end, you'll see here that we have to lose the tail. So what I can actually do here is I can destroy the cop at the end, like that, which is able to just do that. It's able to, you know, we're able to destroy the cop at the end of the mission. This also makes finishing missions a lot easier. So by having a lot of health, that's one of the main things. So this is the first chase mission. This is called Bust Out Jean-Paul. Bust Out Jean-Paul, in my opinion, is one of two. It's a two-part mission. So you need to chase this cop car here and take him down like that. So now we've got to wait for Jean-Paul to walk through a lamppost because he's friggin' Houdini. There we go. Stuff. So that car did just disappear. Nice. So that's the first part of that mission done, but that's not the hard bit. The hard bit is the second part. So chasing down the cop car and taking down the cop car, that's great. The worst bit now is I've now got to get him out of there. So he's actually on where he's located, where his safe house is. It's located at the end of a very thin freeway, which you'll see. So this highway, which is over here, this freeway, I think it is a, would you call it a highway or a freeway? But basically we have to go all the way down here. Now I can sit in the middle of this lane like this, and this is able to do this. Now there is a cop coming up. There we go. Now sometimes you do get 2 cop spawns on here, so you do need to be careful. I got quite lucky with that one, to be honest. So they always, for some reason, they either go to the left or they go to the right. If they go to the right, they will swerve over and hit you on the left-hand side, which is very easy if you just back off. The cop will automatically damage himself. Now, if I get any more felony on me, I will end up having the worrying situation of like this in a second, which you'll see, which will probably end up being roadblocks. Now roadblocks are a big pain in the ass because the roadblocks will obviously they block off the entire road, obviously, and they can be a big problem for us because of the fact of what happens next. So I have to be very careful. Also, I do need to destroy this cop, so we're gonna make sure this cop either, he might destroy himself, I don't know. There we go. There we go. There we go. Nice. Nice, we got through it first try. Nice and easy. Although that's not my main concern. My main concern is this one. So in this one, we have a mission that we need to do. This actually, in my opinion, is where the run goes from, okay, that's actually feasible, to, holy hell, this is difficult. So this mission is called Superfly Drive. It is very anonymous with being difficult. Because of the fact that you drive the fastest car in the entire game from one side of the map to the other. Then the Japanese release, you can see at the timer starts at 250. In the North American release, it starts at 243, and if you played the European release, it starts at 240. So the Japanese release actually had an extra 10 seconds. Them 10 seconds, believe it or not, can come in mighty useful, because here's the fun part. When you get to the end of this mission, you need to not have a cocktail on you. Not only that, here's another big catch. This car is extremely fragile. One massive smash and the car is wrecked and you'll fail the mission and you'll have to start it from the beginning. Now, fortunately, your speed will keep you away from the police as long as you're putting your foot down and they're not right in front of you. But, and this is the big but, it can make this mission very difficult. As you can see here, I've got to be very careful. Now, I could have put my foot flat out if I so desired, but there's a good chance that I would have hit another car. Like, a tag with a wall, a lamppost, or anything like that is very difficult. Now, luckily I didn't get tagged by him, so that's good. Very nice. Okay, that was relatively good. So, there is a shorter, what you call it? There is a shorter route, which is that freeway we took on the last mission. We bust out Jean-Paul. But I take this route because it's longer, it does take more time, but you've got a bit of an easier time with the police. So, for example, if I can hopefully not get hit, that'd be great. It actually allows me to stretch the car's legs and allow me to put my foot down at 100 miles an hour. So, supposedly the top speed of the regular cars in the game is about 85 miles an hour. This does 85 miles an hour. I think it's about 110. This thing does 130, supposedly, according to the PC release. Now, here's where the tricky part starts. So, I'm actually going to stop here, and I'm going to make sure that I don't think I'll be able to do it. No, I can't. Okay, maybe I can. There we go. Phew, that was close. So what I was actually going to do was turn around and despawn him, because you can despawn him. And then, obviously, you've got to get to the end. Like I said, you can't get there with a cop on your tail. What makes it worse is that even with no damage on the car, your car can't take much punishment. So if you were to wreck the cop, in a normal situation, you'd be fine. In the case of the car, yeah, you still can't beat it. It sucks. It's terrible. So this next mission is called Take Out D'Angio's Car. Straightforward, very simple. Take out his car. Mission's difficult because he has different routes that he takes. There we go. Unless he plays ball, which he did. So that was fairly impressive. I'm actually quite happy about that. This one's going surprisingly well. Too well, in fact. So, let's not say anything yet, but anyhow. So, this is the next mission is the last one for Miami. This is called The Informant. Now, this is where I was saying there's a slight change in the text that appears on screen. Normally it says Catch Jesse. In the Japanese release, they give you a bit more context. Chase the train, catch Jesse. To make this even worse, this mission is, to make this mission even worse than it actually should be, it is set in the wet weather. It's set in the rain. Now, that wouldn't be such a bad problem, except for the fact that that tram moves fairly quickly, and keeping up with it isn't easy. Not only that, the cops infinitely respawn, and they're always chasing you, so you have to be very careful. So doing the full lot, which is looking to the side, things like that, and chasing the tram is a bit difficult. However, when you get to the bottom bit, that's the hard bit done. It's chasing the tram down that main straight that's difficult. Now, here's a fun one. So it goes all the way around, but we don't actually need to do anything. So if we wait here, just slowly go down and follow the tram as it's moving across, like that. Now he'll start to come up here, like that. There you go. There we go. So that cop's going to still follow me. What happens is in some missions anyway. There we go. What happens in some missions is you get these like cooldown zones, I guess you could call it. So the way that all works is you have you'll be getting to the end of a mission, and obviously, like I said, most of the missions do rely on losing the tail. But in some missions, the game actually helps you and tells the cops to back off. So you deliberately lose them at the end of the mission. 9 times out of 10, this works. There is one odd occasion where it just doesn't work sometimes because the cop's following you too closely. But usually it works if you just drive all the way there and you're still, like, you're far enough ahead, it's fine. So, with Miami done, we now move to San Francisco. You might be wondering, what happened to the story? So, the story goes that the gang that you're working for has led you to the fact that, unfortunately, Rufus, when he met with you, had a girl with him called Jessie. Jessie turns out to be a traitor. She actually shoots Rufus and kills him. So, because she's killing Rufus, or because she killed Rufus, what actually happens is she kills Rufus, and then you've got to find out why, so you end up chasing her. So then, obviously, as you saw, we caught up with her. We catch her. And after we've caught her, says, right, where is he? Says, who's the guy that you're working for? She says, he's in Frisco, meaning San Francisco. So it's like, ah, okay. So San Francisco is where he is where he's at. So the fun fact is that on the European release, that tram is kind of, you need to beat the tram. In the European and North American release, they have the same amount of time for this mission. And as a result, what happens is you're able to, if you're fast enough and they get in the car quick enough and you can get away without hitting anything, you're actually able to beat the tram just about. And it's like a little thing to know if you're on good pace or not to try and beat that tram. I actually back off a lot nowadays with the tram, because I found that with the tram, it just... the timing is like, you've got maybe about a second, if that, to get past the tram. It's not crucial or anything to the story or anything. But like I said, if you want to know if you're on good pace, it's how fast can you get past that, you know, how quick are you? Can you get past that tram? So that's pretty cool. So the fun thing is that in this mission, the game wants you to go in the compound for the warehouse. But did you know that the endpoint is actually outside? You can actually reach it like that. So it's actually outside of the thing. Now, when I was a kid, I used to go round the back, go in through the back entrance, and then come down the side to get to that bit. I didn't realise how far over that was in its entirety. So it's pretty crazy. Now, speaking of crazy, you get a crazy amount of time for this next mission. So, here's what's about to happen. So, Jesse's escaped to San... Well, you caught Jesse. Jesse has told you that the guy is in San Francisco. You get to San Francisco and you find out there's a gang led by a guy called Castaldi. And you start infiltrating it. And the way you infiltrate it is by doing... Well, obviously doing the missions in the game and providing services for his contacts. So one of the contacts is at Fisherman's Wharf. And they give you 3 and a bit minutes... And this is like, whether it's PAL, North American, Japanese, it really doesn't matter. You get like 3 minutes. Now, you think that, oh, okay, so with it being 3 minutes, it must be a really long friggin' time away. Also, if my car could stop swerving, that would be fantastic. Ooh, okay. So, you have, like I said, 3 and a bit minutes to get to your contact. Okay, fairly straightforward. Your contact's at Fisherman's Wharf. Now, here's the fun one. There's the dead end zone. There we go. So I have spun the car around there deliberately. I've deliberately done that because you get there and then you actually need to go back the other way for which you came. So turning the car around actually sets your car in the right direction, which is why we do like some handbrake turns and stuff beforehand, so that we're able to get nearer the, you know, facing the right direction. You'll see me do it a few times during this run. Sometimes it'll be to help someone get closer to their end point. Sometimes it'll be to get to the next point, start the next side of the mission dead easy. So we've now got to get to the warehouse. Now, the cops will be chasing you all the way there. Not consistently, but you can see that the cop spawns are a bit hit and miss. Some of them will be facing that way, some won't be. But then there will be times where we'll have to worry about the police because they don't like playing ball sometimes. However, as we get near the end of this mission, you'll notice that we might have... It might happen, it might not. But you'll end up having henchmen chase you. So presumably the guys that you've just ripped off, their competition wants to get you. And as a result, that's why this happens. So right now you can see that the police are chasing me. As we get closer, however, to the end point, you'll notice that what will happen is, if that cop loses me, he might not. He may not lose me. I don't know, we'll see. Okay, so we've lost him. Nice. Now, losing a cop about here isn't always the best thing, because now what's going to happen is as I get near to this end point here, there may be a cop about to spawn. Yes, there is. One of the henchmen. Is he going to spot me in time, or is he not? He didn't. Happy days. That's really good for me. So, yeah, that's Guns in the Trunk done and dusted. So you have the, as I said, there's like a 3 and a bit minute behemoth. And it's pretty mental. I'm not going to lie, it is crazy. Now, here comes a fun mission. So this mission is very, very short. It's very similar to a chase mission, except instead of it being a chase mission, the mission is called just Taxi. And the purpose of this mission, scare the living daylights out of the guy in the back of the car. Turns out it's a contact and we need to scare him crapless. So, yeah, here we go. And there you go. That's the mission done and dusted. Now, in terms of the next 2 missions, we've got Cozy to the Chopper, which involves picking a guy up. I think he's to do with Gastaldi's gang, called Cozy or Cozy, depending on which way you want to pronounce it. I'll let you guys be the judge on that one. So this is Cozy to the Chopper. And then we have the Mercy mission, which is coming up after. So I have some fun little trivia regarding the Mercy mission, but one mission at a time. So it goes to the chopper, it's set in the wet, immediately a big sign that it's going to be a difficult mission. So we have to pick this guy up, and what we need to do is get him the hell out of there. So bear in mind, we are an undercover cop. So there will be people that will either need to arrest, so deliberately get them wiped out, and so we can get them arrested and all the rest of it, so we can start taking down his gang from the inside. But also, we may also need to do, well, the rest of it. So you'll see what I mean. Oh. Perfect spot. So we need to get into the chopper because we need to get him the hell out of there. Now, I don't know if it's a police chopper or what, but it's something. So I'm just going to send that cop on his way. He's apparently going to send me on my way. I didn't think he'd do that, but okay. Cop playing not nice. That's fine. So in the wet, you may notice then that I had the... Holy hell, I don't know how I made that. I have not the foggiest clue how I made that. All that. So this mission is, for me, notorious that the AI gets in your way. The police will be getting in my way as well. But also, just the traffic in general gets in your way. You can see that the frame rate tanks here. because, you know, it's the weather and everything. Weather effects make it so. You also have to read traffic patterns as well. If you see a guy turning left, you either need to put your foot down and hope that he doesn't smash into you, or like that. Yeah, put your foot down and hope he doesn't smash into you, or make sure that you're able to go fast enough that you can drive past them. This mission's been a bit ruthless today, which is a first. I've not had a ruthless positive chopper in a while. I'd say that police are being more of a pain than usual. Oh, God. Now, luckily, I don't really have to care about whether the police are on me or not. It's the damage I need to be concerned about, in case the worst happens. There we go. Ooh. Okay. Now, the cops will do their worst. There we are. So that'll be the end of that. Get in there like that, and then you get in the helicopter, in the chopper, and off he goes. So that's the end of Codes to the Chopper. So the next one is called the Mercy Mission. So this is the one that I said I have trivia in. So the Mercy Mission is a 3-part mission. Now, the 3-part mission just involves going from one toll booth. You go from your apartment to a phone box to another phone box to another phone box. It's like a hostage situation. You have to get from one side to the other within the time limit. Now, in the PC version, this mission's a 4-part mission, because after the 3rd part, you go to another point, and that's where the mission ends. Now, in the PS1 version, the 4th part was supposed to originally be in this mission, but it got cut. However, if you go into the game's files in the North American release, you can actually find this hidden 4th path. It's hidden in the game's files. You can activate it via Game Shark codes, just the 4th part of the mission, along with the time limit. For some reason, it was cut out of the final game. Unknown as to why or what caused it, but the PC version has you do 4 parts instead of 3. What's even more bizarre is that in the 3rd mission, at the end of the 3rd part, you'll see a cutscene. The cutscene is actually the wrong one. So what I mean by that, also nice. So what I mean by that is the first 2 parts of this mission are the first 2 cutscenes. So you'll see that cutscene in the PC version, you'll see it in the PS1 version. When we get to the next one, you'll see the same cutscenes in the PS1 to PC. When you get to the 3rd part though, you actually see the wrong cutscene play in the PS1 version. Because what happens in the PS1 version is the mission has the cutscene from the 4th part play for the end of the 3rd part. Whereas realistically what he was supposed to do was play the cutscene for the 3rd part. And as a result, the 3rd part cutscene is removed from the game. I believe it's in the game's files, but if you play the PC version, you'll play the full version of the mission. If you play the PS1 version, you play a cut down, segregated version. Why this was the case, I don't know. I'm guessing to save on disk space, being the PS1 version. Whereas on PC, obviously, you can make the game however big you wish, without any repercussions. So maybe that was the reason. I don't know. And also there's the tram. Nice. So that is the 2nd part of the mission done and dusted. We're then going to move on to the 3rd part of the mission, which, like I said, is the part that was originally cut from the game and blah, blah, blah. We do have, once we've done this mission, we move on to something called the setup. So, fun fact is that when the game was being routed originally, and people were doing all sorts of random missions because they didn't know which route was the fastest, they used to sometimes do hide street pickup. So in the PlayStation game, just focusing entirely on the PlayStation game here, you're able to do either the setup or the Hyde Street pickup missions. Now, in the game, it's recommended you do the setup, because the setup is once you get there, no matter how much time you've got left, you don't have to wait. Whereas on the Hyde Street pickup, you have to wait until Ross gets to the train stop. Not only that, you have to rely entirely on the police being really good to you and not spawning too bad. Which reminds me, the PlayStation 1 release of this game compared to the PC release has one majorly good, in my opinion, good thing going for it. The police spawns are actually a lot slower and less consistent, I guess is the word. So you can see now that we have like a nice gap between where the police spawn is, and now there's a police spawn. In the PC version of the game, that police spawn would actually have been encountered within like 2 or 3 seconds. It's insane. For some reason, it's just, yeah, it's just crazy. So we'll be doing a bit of a jump here, and that's that mission done and dusted. And like I said, in most missions, you don't actually need a cocktail at the end of it. It's fine. If you have a cocktail, the game just still gives you the pass. And there's the cutscene for the 4th part, which it shouldn't have been. So, yeah, there you go. Nice and easy. So now we get to move on to the setup. As you can see, is the first mission on the answering machine. Now, the thing is, with this one, it supposedly tells you, I've got a job available. I need you to come and pick a bunch of guys up and take us somewhere. But when you get there, well, it's in the name, been set up. And you've got police all over you. So, yeah, that's nice of them, isn't it? So you'll notice as well that I drive pretty quick to get to these places, and I bomb it there without worrying about the police tails or anything like that. That's just because of the fact that I've got used to this game that much that I can probably get to the end of the mission without having to worry about the police. And there is techniques to throwing the police off. They don't always work, mine, so I can't say that these are certified tips, but sometimes they may be. So, like, for example, you might have a chance where you can throw the cops into traffic. Like, I can dodge him, but he might not. Or he might throw him off entirely. Like that. Obviously, you can see here that the thing I mentioned before about the losing the police thing is something. Here's a fun one. So you can actually get to this garage here without any police. It is possible. You can obviously just drive sensible and everything and get here, which is fine. When you get here though, the police won't be activated. As soon as you start driving, the police are activated. So there's a fun one. So I always take the outskirts of the garage there when I'm driving about in there, because if you take an inside line and you try and do the fastest route, there are cops waiting for you. So I always take that just so I can get out of there without much damage, if any. So yeah, there you go. And you quickly lose the police because they're all stuck in that garage. Fun fact, or fun bit to find out. So that car park is actually really good for losing the police. You can do that in free roam and everything as well. I've done it in like quick getaway, which are other game modes as well. The undercover mode is the main thing that we are doing today. But we obviously, there is obviously driving games available where you've got like a survival where the cops are turned up to 11. And yeah, it's all good fun. Now, I am going to have a cop here, and I'm obviously going to need to somehow get rid of him. Now, luckily, if I time this right, I should be able to. He might not be able to see me. We're able to lose him. There we go, like that. Which is really cool. You're able to not see him. If you get out of their line of sight, they can lose you after a few seconds. Now, in the PC version, this doesn't work, but in the PS1 version, it does. So, not too bad. So next up is the final mission in San Francisco. This is Tanner and Slater. So we have the Tanner and Slater mission, which is, again, a chase mission. We've got to take Slater down, and what we're going to do is, once we've took him down, we're going to feed him over to the police. What's eventually going to happen is, once we've defeated Slater, or once we've took him out, he's then taken into custody by the police, and we then get shipped over to Los Angeles. So in Los Angeles, it is basically told, or we're told, you know, shift your ass, Tanner. Basically, get your ass to Los Angeles because Castaldi's gang has gone there. Castaldi's like, we need to find. I think we've got a mole in the organization. And as such, he decides to move his operations to Los Angeles, away from San Francisco. So there you go. So this is Steal a Cop Car. This is one of the rare few times, one of 2 times, I believe, in the entire run where we actually drive a cop car. Now, first things first, the time limit doesn't matter. The cop car is a bit of a... It's not a red herring. This mission's not a red herring. The cop car is fragile. It's a bit like Superfly Drive. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do a trick. And this trick essentially lets us finish this mission a lot faster than we should. Now I'm going to get away from all these guys. But if we go to this little corner here... quite where I planned it. That wasn't quite on the cards. I think I didn't hit it at enough of an angle. So that's my fault. But basically, you're able to go out of bounds and... yeah. You're able to go out of bounds and sink the car. So there is a chance that you can sink the car a bit earlier. Compared to what the game tells you to. I think it's like any time now that the game just lets you think. Not quite. Maybe not. Can't quite remember where it is. Might have screwed that up. Don't know if I've got enough damage left to do the out of bounds. Maybe I have, maybe I haven't. There we go. And there we go. Okay, we're good. We're good. So that's what you do. You basically have to sink the car. Now in Glitchless, you'd still do that mission, but you'd do it all the way to the end. And the fun fact is that you've got... So Los Angeles only has you do 4 missions. You've got Steal a Cop Car, the Chase, which is what we're going to do next, which is another chase mission, which is difficult, the Maddox Hit, and Beverly Hills Getaway. Now, if you were to do Glitchless, you'd still do Steal a Cop Car, you still do the Chase, you still do the Maddox Hit. But what you'd do, instead of doing Beverly Hills Getaway, you would do something called the Test Run. And the Test Run is a point A to point B mission. And, yeah, nice and easy. There we go. So I actually want to get that as fast as possible. Duval didn't put up too much of a fight there, which was good. I'm glad that he didn't put up too much of a fight. So the next thing is that we have to wait quite a bit for this cutscene to kick in. I always think that the game freezes in place, but it apparently is more of a console emulator thing. So if you play this game on a console, that cutscene loads faster compared to emulator. Now, obviously, as I said, with emulator and console, you're able to use the fast disk speed that you get for the PS2. If you play on a console, you can use the fast disk speed. That is allowed. So obviously, that will load faster on a console. But then you've got also on console, you've got a few bits and pieces that just make it play a little bit worse than emulator, so it's a bit hit and miss. You know, like you are allowed to use the fastest speed, so it does allow you to, you know, get one over on people who run on emulator. But here's the thing: the reason why emulator doesn't have them rules regarding the fastest speed or speeding up is because of the fact that if you put on the next setting, I believe it is, for emulator, then what ends up happening is well, to cut a long story short, it doesn't do so well, and it makes things a bit worse. It makes it too fast at loading, essentially. So, yeah. Which is a shame, but again, it's just how we've done it. You know, emulator is still the way to go, especially if you want a good time for the PS1 version. Now, this car pack has a fun little gimmick with it. First of all, you've got to drive in the oncoming lane. Second thing, you're going to see a magic trick now. Or several, actually. Ready? Watch the car in the background. Whoop, there he goes. And if you're wondering where they go, then they actually go... they come out of this wall here. They drop down and come out of that wall. Now, if I try and do that, and try and do a Houdini and go through the wall, unfortunately, all I'll get hit with is a complete wall. So, it's a glitch where the AI, for some reason, just goes through the walls. I don't know why or what causes it, but yeah, there you go. So now we pick these guys up. These are hitmen. And yeah, we've now got to get them to the Chinese restaurant where they're going to attempt to kill an informant. The informant is someone we actually know. It's actually a member of our team. And as a result, so Castaldi's, the guys that are in the car right now are Castaldi's hitmen. The guy that is going to get shot or is going to be assassinated is your colleague. Turns out, things don't always work out the way they planned, as you'll find out. But yeah, for the most part, we can sit on this line like this. We're going to take this next left turn here. Nice and easy. Now, there is a chance, on the NTSC especially, the NTSC version has a truck turning left and it cuts across you. Japanese version doesn't seem to have that. I'd say, I'd go as far as saying the Japanese version has slightly better traffic patterns than NTSC, because you get more time for everything. Everything feels like it's delayed slightly. So we've got to get to the Chinese restaurant here, like this. Like that. And there we go. So we've got them to the Chinese restaurant. And they're going to attempt to assassinate him. And spoiler alert, they miss. So now the cops are onto us and we need to get out of there and get them to the safe house. Here's the thing. So this is where this mission can split in half, depending on whether you're confident or not. If you're confident, you can get yourself back to the safe house. If you're not confident, then you'll take the out of bounds approach. So the out of bounds takes about an extra, I think from memory, it's 20 or 30 seconds, something like that. Whereas if you do the legit approach, which is going back to the actual safe house like you're supposed to, it saves 20 to 25 seconds. Also, you're not hearing things, you are hearing multiple police sirens. It turns out the alarm is like the same as a police siren. That was fairly friggin' close. Nice. So you can see here that the frame rate has completely nosedived. If you're thinking this is bad, it will get worse, believe me. Getting rid of the police isn't exactly easy. and neither's the horrible frame rate. If I look to the side here, that clears the frame rate up nice and easy. Now, that's pretty lucky. There we go. So down here, the cops don't really spawn, so we should be all good. There we go. And that's it. That's the end of that mission. It is a long mission. That was actually a mission that I tripped up on a lot when I was younger. So that's all good fun. So we have the last mission in Los Angeles, which is called Beverly Hills Getaway. Now, for those wondering, like I said, for those wondering why we do Beverly Hills Getaway and not the test run is a 3.5-4 minute behemoth that you can do glitchless. It's relatively straightforward. It's drive from point A to point B. Again, nothing bad about it. Plain and simple. It's nice and easy. The reason we do Beverly Hills Getaway is because of this glitch that I was talking about before. Now, luckily, there's actually an easier time of doing the glitch on this one, because you'll see in a minute, once we pick the guys up, yeah, you'll see why. Now, this is something that I think someone in the Discord put, that it was a lot easier, an easier way of doing it. So here's a fun one as well. So every time you have to pick someone up or something like that, you have to wait until the 15 seconds, about just short of 15 seconds. This mission actually has it where you have to wait until it's 10 seconds. So you'll actually find that during this mission we actually have to wait a bit longer, which is a bit sad. There we are. Nice. We've got to get to lock up. Now, here's the thing. If you do this mission legit, you'll actually find that that's a false dawn, because what happens is you'll get there, spoiler, you get to the lockup, and it turns out it's an ambush. You've been double-crossed, essentially. And luckily that cop's done me a favour by going the wrong way, so I've got myself an easier time with this one. So the frame rate really suffers here. However, in a minute you'll find that something is a bit unordinary, it's not normal. So where this building is here, if I just go here, I can literally just drive out of bounds like that. That building isn't even finished. And you're able to avoid the police altogether, and this makes this mission a lot easier, especially to get to the out of bounds bit here. You can see that there's water over here. So this is where we're gonna sink our car, like that. And there we go, and that is Los Angeles done and dusted. And that also means that we now move on to the final city in the game with some of the hardest missions, which is New York. I was going to say which is called New York, which is New York. The first mission that we're going to be doing is called Grand Central Station Switch. Now, depending on circumstances, this is actually where the story ending changes. So, if you do Grand Central Station Switch and the accident, you're able to get an ending where Tanner gets out alive and other stuff, which I'm not going to explain just yet. But basically you get one where Tanner gets out on his own. However, if you do the other mission, which I believe is called, let me think, off my head, is called Luther's Heap of Junk and the Rescue. The rescue involves saving several people, one of which is a girl called Ali. Now, Ali gets kidnapped later into the story if you take her set of missions, and as such you have to go and save her. Now, that means that the second to last mission is called the Ali situation. However, if you take this approach, it's called Rite of Passage. It's a bit like the test run, except, well, yeah, it's the test run. Also, I heard the cops smash into a traffic car. Nice driving, AI. One thing that New York is very anonymous for, though, in this game especially, is the taxis. The traffic system is absolutely atrocious. So this is actually a 3-part mission. There we go. So this is a 3-part mission. So part 1 is getting to there. Then you have the second part, which involves getting to Grand Central. So you have to meet the contact at one of the stations. Then you have to get to Grand Central. Then you need to make the exchange, which means getting your ass back to that station. So it's a 3-part mission, and as I said, the damage stacks up over the 3 missions, so you have to keep it as clean as possible without damaging yourself too much. Now, if I can get up to the second part, if I can beat this part of the mission without getting involved in any taxi collisions, that would be fantastic. But whether that will happen, I don't know, because, as I said, the taxis in this game love to just pull out on you for no reason. If you see a taxi, either bomb it and hope it doesn't get in your way, or just, well, yeah, slow the hell down and make sure that it can't get in your way. Seeing taxis makes me nervous. I've never been more scared and nervous about taxis in my entire life than in New York in this game. The also thing I don't like is that despite the fact that traffic tells you which way it's going, sometimes the traffic can just randomly turn over on you. So we just need to go to the top of this street. Now look at the cops on the other side, so he shouldn't be able to hit me. He didn't. Nice, one more road to cross over. There we go. There's a cop on the other side, but we're just going to ignore him. Nice. That's part 2 done, and also that was fairly clean, which is really good. Nice. So now what we've got to do is get back to that station. However, there's also something that's hidden here that you don't get told about. So it turns out you're now being chased. You're being tailed. And being tailed by who, I wonder? Turns out you're making the exchange for Gastaldi. Turns out rival gangs have got the same idea. As a result, you have to get back there. Now these black sedans, these infinite spawn. If they chase you the whole way, then great. But they infinite respawn. So if you lose one, it appears later up the road. It is very scary. Especially when they start coming at you, to which point you start going, ugh. Like that. Oh hell, I don't know how I did that. Oh. Just like that. Oh. How that taxi didn't get T-boned, I don't know. There's no way of getting rid of these guys, so I'm going to have to just do the unthinkable, which is take down 2 cars in one go. Should be easy enough. There we go, like that. And luckily I had enough damage. As I was saying, it's a case of... we had a fair bit of damage left on the meter, and that's a good thing, because then that allows that to happen where I can wreck him. This is also the reason why having lots of health left on your car is key because of that. It also keeps the speedrun going along just fine. Obviously, ideally, in terms of the ideal structure, it is a case of you don't want to be doing that. You want to make sure that you have nothing. You don't want to have any, AI. You don't want to be destroying cops. That loses your time and everything like that. But if it happens, then as long as you've got the health for it, you're fine. Now, the accident is one of 2 missions in New York that is a bit difficult. There we go. It can be if it... There we go. Like that. So we've got the accident done and dusted. That wasn't too bad. So I didn't do too bad there. That's okay. And now we move on to our next mission. We skip a cutscene there, which in the Japanese release for some reason just results in the black screen. So this is the last time you actually get to choose a mission. So this mission is called Trash Granger's Wheels. It is a fairly straightforward mission. We have to trash a guy called Granger. His car is left outside his apartment. We have to get rid of his car. Mainly because of the fact that Castaldi seems to think it's him. So it's like, go and wreck his wheels. So that's what we're doing. And then after that, we have the negatives, which is a very difficult chase mission. If I get it first try, I'll be happy. And then we have Rite of Passage. And finally, last but not least, the President's Run. And that is the end of the run. Now, New York has some of the hardest missions in the game. It's not exactly the most difficult missions that we do in the run. Now, I'm just going to say this first and foremost. If you've never seen a driver speedrun before, or been living under a rock for the past few years, then you might be in for a slight shock as to how we beat the President's Run. Spoiler alert, it's a lot of fun, and it's quite funny given how much pain it made me suffer through for a good, I'd say 10 or 15 years playing this game growing up. So sometimes this car might not spawn. It should do though. Which it did. There we go. So I'm going to wreck his car like that. And they give you a nice little buffer of a few seconds as well to get away from the cops. Now he's probably going to chase me all the way back to my apartment, and that's fine. We'll lose most of the other cops anyway. Out of the cops that are there, we'll lose them. As you can see, we've now just got the one. There's only the one left, all by himself. But another one will probably spawn. There we go. Right on cue, actually. That was perfect. If I go through here like this and go across here, I should be able to lose not one, but both. Now, there is a really good chance a cop will spawn in front of me here. But he didn't. It was pretty impressive. Thank you very much, game. This game really likes me today for that. I'm glad it does, because it's given me some really bad RNG in the past. So this one's called the negatives. As I said, this is the one that always gets me every time. Without fail, it always gets me, this mission, because his driving is atrocious and killing him fast is the key. But killing him fast, you might get a bad spawn, you might get a good spawn. It really depends. So this might take us a bit to kill him. It might not take much time at all. It's going right. That's immediately a bad sign. Bad. Not a bad one at all. Not done too bad with damage already, that's pretty good. All I need is one more tap and he's done for. And bear in mind, this is in the rain, it's dark as well, so getting him is not exactly the easiest thing in the world. Like that, so we've got him done and dusted. He is a difficult one to get rid of, so the fact that we've got him out the way is really good. Next one is called Rite of Passage. So here's what happens with the story. So we've dealt with Granger, we've had to get a bunch of guys, last few gang members done and dusted, take them down because Castaldi's told us to do so. Anyway, Castaldi's master plan is it involves you having to do a drive from one side of town to the other in a certain amount of time so that he knows you're good enough for the job. Now luckily, as I said, in the Japanese release you get a little bit more extra time in this mission, which is a good thing because the game will throw everything at you. It's dark, it's wet, there's nothing to stop the cops from coming at you. Throw in the bad traffic RNG like this. Could the AI please stop being any more dumb? That would be great. I honestly didn't think that would be that bad, but obviously it did. This is what all the extra time is for. You need to drive pretty good to make it to the end, and I'm really not proving that right now. Would be nice if the AI would stop getting in my way. I think the AI is trying to prove the point. As I was saying, you know, it's like it's dark, it's wet. The AI feels like it's trying to stop you from making this in its entirety. But yeah, as I was saying, so Castaldi wants to make sure, you know, you've got this far. He wants to make sure that you're definitely good enough for the job and that you can do what he's asking of you. So this is why it's a big long mission. It is a behemoth of a mission to just drive from one end to the other. Look, it doesn't involve driving across any bridges or anything like that, but you really have to know where you're going, the route to take. Otherwise, yeah, you'll be in a lot of trouble. Traffic, taxi, seriously, traffic. Oh well, that actually saved my skin. As I was saying, the taxis are absolutely horrendous. They just pull out. They don't even like acknowledge you're there. They just decide, oh, I'm just gonna pull out in front of you now. Much like real life New York taxis, I've heard. So there you go. Anyway, moving on. So yeah, this involves, I mean, we've got to drive down here for quite a fair bit as well, and everything. And I have to be careful as well when I get to junctions because, fun one is that AI can randomly turn left, and if they do, that knocks you completely off balance. Not only that, sometimes the car slightly steers to the left, which, if it does, then there you go. Not only that, we do still have police chasing us as well. So it is one of them main things. We've not really had much police, which is good. So he can try as he might, so he's not going to get very far. There we go. That's what I mean about the AI just trying to stop you. Ooh, okay, up close. So the place I know where to turn left at is because basically this has New York has a grid formation, as you can see, and when it stops here, this is how I know when to turn left. It's how I'm able to read the map so well. Now when it comes to getting to the top of here, when to turn right in a minute, it is literally at the end of this road here. Like I said, you probably noticed that up until now, or maybe not even noticed, but I don't ever use the map. Because I just memorise the routes, I know exactly where to go, I know some of the maps pretty well. And luckily, because it's a set route, it's like, oh, you've got to go from here to here. The only thing that, like I said, is completely random is the paths that the AI decides to take in terms of chase missions. That's it. So that is the end of Rite of Passage. Now, fun fact, I did actually lose a really good run on this mission to a bunch of taxis at the end. So that was all good fun. Now, that brings us on to the final mission of the game, which is called the President's Run. It is quite synonymous with a lot of people here, I'm sure. But did you know there is a really easy way to cheese this mission? And here's how. I'd rather let the game show what it does. Yep. So this is how we cheese it. We get out of bounds just like this. And it is the easiest way to finish this run. It's ridiculous. You have to like get lucky with the police there. You have to, you may have noticed that I had to, I had to keep doing my thing, but here we go. And time. Although it didn't stop that timer, did it? For some reason that time is still going.
FBI 要員がボーンと共に買収されてたんですか？全てはっきりさせるにはもう少し時間がかかりそうだ。とにかくバッジを受け取りたまえ。どうしたターナー？一体どこへ行くんだターナー？戻ってきて自分のバッジを受け取れ。ターナー、君は自分で何をやっているのか分かっているのか？これが最後のチャンスだぞ、ターナー。
Yeah, apologies for that. Yeah, so that run went pretty well. Apologies that it was a late time. I think it was a 1:12:58 in terms of that, which was pretty damn good. And also, as a result of that, we get to do the credits as well. But that was pretty good. The Japanese release version, like I said, does have one or two tricks up its sleeve. Like you can wreck the car in the interview and still pass, so you're able to beat it. So I'm just going to quickly say as well, just from where I am, that obviously in terms of the run went relatively well for that, so I'm quite happy with that one. I think it was like I said, 1:12:58, so that's pretty good. The Japanese release does run the same frame rate as North America, but I think there's something in the North American release that makes it run faster. Obviously my RNG wasn't perfect, but I did relatively well in that one. But I'd say the Japanese release is more safer if you can get hold of the Japanese release, whether it's console or want to do run on emulator. It's more marathon friendly, I think, is the main bit, which is good, because I need the marathon friendly version of Driver. Other quick thing as well before I forget is that you do have this mode here. This is Newcastle, which was only partially made in Driver. This was where Reflections was based back in the 1990s. Now, this was only a test bit. In the PC version, you can drive this. On PS1, you can't because it's in the credits. However, if you use GameShark codes, you can actually drive this in the PS1 version. Albeit, even on emulator or console, you can use GameShark codes to do it. Same with the quick chase things as well. You can actually play the quick chases, the ones that you would normally have from watching the demo in the background, which is really, really good. Like I said, as a run, wasn't too bad. I would definitely take that, that's for damn sure. But yeah, that is probably going to be about it from me. Like I said, Pretty good run. I think I'm quite happy with that. Shout out to Alistair Brimble, by the way, the guy who made the amazing soundtrack. You'll actually see a little bit more of Driver 1 later on, albeit in the form of the Drivers Syndicate, but I'll let Survivor show that off later on. But yeah, from my side, that's about it. We're going to go to a quick intermission for now, and when we return, we will obviously be running, well, we'll see Driver 2 Any Percent by Brinu. So yeah, we'll see you guys very shortly.